So while the world's eye shifted to a sudden and intense 12-day conflict between Israel and Iran, a confrontation that sent shockwaves across the region. Another crisis was quietly deepening, and on Gravitas Plus today, we will tell you what happened in Gaza while the world looked away. With international attention diverted, aid efforts stalled, and the suffering of civilians growing more acute. In this episode, we will bring you a detailed timeline of all those critical days, what happened, what was overlooked, and why it matters. Most importantly, why does Gaza keep slipping away from the headlines? In the weeks before Israel launched its war with Iran on June 13th, its military campaign in Gaza continued with little pause. A fragile ceasefire had collapsed, triggering a surge in airstrikes from Israel, and an 11-week blockade that halted all humanitarian aid. While some aid began to enter Gaza in late May, the intensity of military operations increased at the same time. An increasing number of desperate Palestinians were being killed while trying to find scarce food, either from looted aid convoys or from distribution points. On the second day of the conflict between Iran and Israel, Israeli airstrikes in Gaza resulted in the deaths of at least 20 Palestinians. This is according to the local health authorities. Apart from that, at least 11 people were reportedly killed near food distribution centers operated by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. According to the eyewitnesses, Israeli troops opened fire on the crowds, while the Israeli military has said that it fired warning shots at individuals identified as suspects who were moving towards its forces. But footage from Gaza showed people pleading for food at the soup distribution center in Gaza. A day later, on the 15th of June, 8 Palestinians were killed as they sought aid. Before sunrise on 16th of June, Israeli forces opened fire on a group of starving Palestinians making their way to 2 aid centers run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. At least 37 people were killed near the southern city of Rafah. Apart from that, an additional 200 were taken to a Red Cross field hospital, marking the largest number of patients the facility has ever handled in a single mass casualty event. 17th of June is marked as one of the deadliest days in Gaza after, according to reports, Israeli forces opened fire on a crowd waiting for UN aid trucks near Khan Yunis in south. The attack left at least 59 Palestinians dead and hundreds injured. In response, 8 convoys were temporarily halted, further worsening an already severe food shortage in the war-ravaged region. An Israeli military spokesperson said that their troops acted in accordance with international law and took all reasonable measures to avoid harming civilians. Once again, Israeli troops fired on Palestinians waiting for food. Reports put the death toll at 11 on that day. A series of airstrikes killed at least 24 Palestinians. On the 19th of June, aid officials reported that an average of 23 UN trucks per day were passing through the main Kerem Shalom crossing into Gaza. In central Gaza, 15 people waiting for assistance were killed. Around 60 others also lost their lives in a series of airstrikes across the region. New evacuation orders from the Israeli military forced thousands to flee from the eastern areas of Gaza City. At least 24 people waiting for aid were killed by the Israeli gunfire. Then, on 21st of June, the Israeli military recovered the bodies of 3 hostages from the Gaza Strip. All 3 were killed on October 7, 2023 during Hamas attack on Israel. On 23rd of June, further displacement orders were issued by the Israeli military for parts of Khan Yunis in advance of new operations. As of now, more than 80% of the territory in Gaza is now covered by such orders or held by Israeli troops. And footage from Beit Lahaya in the far north of the territory showed people attempting to clamber onto aid trucks. Another 25 Palestinians seeking aid were killed and dozens wounded when Israeli forces opened fire with bullets and tanks in Rafah. So, Over the past 12 days of the Iran-Israel war, Israeli troops reportedly shelled 8 distribution points in Gaza, targeting areas where hungry civilians gathered in desperate need of food and humanitarian assistance. And we're not the ones saying it. Israeli military officials admitted on Monday that they fired on Palestinians seeking humanitarian aid at distribution points in Gaza. The admission followed a Friday report by the Israeli newspaper Haaretz, which cites testimonies from soldiers and officers saying that they were instructed to open fire on starving civilians gathered near aid centers. According to the Israeli officials, the shelling was aimed at maintaining order at food distribution sites. That's what Israel claims. Since May 27th, Israel and the US have implemented a limited aid distribution plan in Gaza. The IDF have been firing on Palestinians waiting in line for food, further forcing civilians to choose between two things. Number one, either starvation or the risk of being shot at. According to Haaretz, Israeli soldiers have been instructed to shoot at Palestinian crowds near aid distribution centers, despite the Palestinian civilians posing no threat. Palestinians across Gaza are suffering from hunger and the lack of other life-saving necessities. The Gaza Strip remains on the verge of famine as a result of Israel's closure and blockade, as well as the ongoing unlawful restrictions on the entry and distribution of humanitarian aid. Well, as airstrikes continue to pound the Gaza Strip, Palestinians face a deepening humanitarian crisis, with homes destroyed, lives lost, and essential supplies growing scarce. For many, survival is now a daily struggle amid rubble and fear. And as the bombs fall, the call for a lasting ceasefire and a path to peace grows even more urgent.